Hi everyone, Dan here, and I am glad to announce that we have a new series on our podcast called My First Job. We are going to be interviewing a variety of people in established careers who reflect on their first job experience, what they learned from it, what they learned from their mentors, and much more. These episodes will be a bit shorter than our standard interviews, but I hope that they will be a helpful resource to you nonetheless. Please enjoy. This episode has Todd Carlisle, who is a lawyer and has been a managing partner of a very significant firm. Main field, easy to understand, mergers and acquisitions, significant amounts of money. He is also now partner in his law firm, which is also a sign of achievement. Before that, he was a law clerk for a federal district judge. Law clerk means he was writing opinions, doing research, very important work. And that happened right after he got out of law school. It doesn't always work that way. In this little series called My First Job, we are hearing from people who struggled in their first job, or their first job was not what they anticipated at all. Today, I have Todd, for whom things worked out really well by God's providence. And his first job was not miserable. His first job was hit the ground doing important things, and we're immensely thankful for that. But would you just give us, Todd, a summary? So you went to college, you did well, you're a very intellectually capable person, and then you went to law school right away, and then you were a law clerk immediately after that. Have I missed anything? What do you want to tell me that would fill in the blanks a little bit?
I would say that I didn't come to college with a deep understanding of how to be a student. My family wasn't really focused on education in that way. My dad was really the first in our family that had gone to night school while I was a young man. So I had to sort of fight my way through college to learn how to study, how to be a student. And so it wasn't as easy a path. There were a fair amount of student loans involved on the journey. And when I got to law school, by God's grace, I had some good professors that really had taught me to be a good student, and some friends around me that were good students. And so when I got to law school, I was really committed to what I was doing and why I was there, and had a real sense of calling. Well, I'd been overseas one summer doing some missionary work. I'd spent a lot of time alone because that was the nature of, I was teaching English in Japan, and I really worked through what I wanted to do in my life and spent some time thinking that through. And so I had a clarity that I wanted to go to law school. And so I hit the ground running with a lot of focus there. And so I'd just say that preparation, both the struggles early, prepared me to know that I really needed to apply myself when I got there. And that process of applying myself in law school, I had good semesters and bad semesters as I was working that out. And I finished stronger than I started, which was a good sign in terms of the progress. It was the key to me for my job process in law school. Walking across the campus one day, I hadn't gotten some interviews and I was discouraged about what my first job might be actually. And I decided that if I needed to go run a McDonald's or a Burger King, I don't even like Burger King that much, but that's what I think I had in my mind that day. I've always remembered it. It was like, I've decided that I needed to do whatever I do, I was going to do it to the best I could for God's glory. And I needed to be at peace with that. And so that accepting that was one of the key moments. Things worked out shortly that I would be headed towards the law firm that I started to work for today. But that decision was a critical decision for me because it wasn't made with a bird in hand. It was made when I didn't know. Right. And it was just sort of a reaffirmation that I was going to give myself to the Great Commission. I was going to give myself to His kingdom, and that was going to be my focus. And if He trusted to put me in a job that I thought I wanted to be in, then great. And if He wanted to put me in something different, I was going to be okay with that. And that was really letting go and trusting Him with the process was a key decision that you have to make along the journey.
And at the end, you were committed to what you had to do, and then you got your first job.
Yes.
So somebody set you up with a law clerk at a federal district judge. That's an important position. That's a plum assignment. Somebody believed in you. But even if people believe in you, you can be neglected. The judge might have very little time for you, or might have a lot of time for you. I'm not talking about that judge, but in any profession, you can be hired and sort of thrown to the wolves or cared for. How did it go for you, and how did you make your way forward?
What I tell my children today, and in my own life, I focused a lot on were the people I was going to be around going to be good mentors for me. I learned in college in some involvement in student government where I had mentors and people who poured into my life, both just spiritual mentors and then just professional mentors. And so the judge I went to work for, Judge Nelson, I knew something about him when I went in there that he would be inclined to be a mentor. Yeah. And he was a huge mentor, not in the sense of sitting down and just coaching me through this or that. He just set an incredibly high standard. Yeah. And he gave me great feedback, and he was very tough, but he was tough in a loving way. And I left there with such a loyal friendship with him. Mm-hmm. And the law firm I went to, I ultimately chose to stay there because a man that, mentored me my first summer there really committed to me, and he brought me along in my career in those first couple of years that are so helpful. And you have to have somebody who will help you and coach you and pour into you. But the other side of that is I worked really, really hard to take advantage of those mentorships. I sucked everything I could out of them along the way, being respectful and then understanding the distance that you have to have. But I applied myself to learning what they were offering.
Let me just pause and label a couple of things, because more than most of our conversations we have in Faith and Work, this has a particular focus. So we're aiming, you and I know we're aiming to talk to 22-year-olds and 24-year-olds. We're also aiming to talk to 44-year-olds and 58-year-olds who could be mentors. I'm going to label something you implied. A lot of people who are 22 say, I want a mentor, and they think that mentor is going to take them to lunch for an hour and a half and tell them about stuff. But it's actually not the way it usually works. It's more like you work hard. I tell you if you worked well. I tell you if you didn't work well. I give you a gentle correction, but firm, and maybe toss out one sentence, and that sentence is pure gold.
100%.
Give me one final word to a 22-year-old heading out to their first job, or a 25, 26-year-old. Just wrap it up. Give me a 1-minute summary. What do you say to them? A Christian, let's say they're Christian.
God's called you to be a steward of your life, and stewardship, I gave you my framework, biblically, Luke 2:52, wisdom, stature, favor with God, favor with man. Stewardship means take responsibility for developing your skills, look for opportunities to grow technically proficient, look for opportunities to be pushed professionally to uncomfortable places. Don't shirk from hard work. Don't run from the responsibilities that might encroach upon your social time or your free time in those early years. Sacrifice in the early years, especially, to build your skills and to strengthen yourself so that in your later years, you've got the foundation to build on. And I think that understanding you're responsible for stewarding your life and stewarding the gifts, even as you learn what your gifts and your calling is, and understand your role as a steward, and you're stewarding and take responsibility for stewarding your own life in that way. And Jesus gave us a good model, and follow the biblical model that Christ gave us as you steward your life. And as he then, through the Holy Spirit, reveals to you your calling, your gifts, and your abilities, and grow them. And really enjoy it, because it's a lot of fun to see the Lord work in your life, knowing it's not you, but it's him working.
Thanks so much. I'm just going to say thank you so much for being with us, Todd.
Grateful for the privilege.
Good to be with you in the presence of 22 and 55-year-olds. If you're curious, Todd's summary sounds a lot like one that Karen Swalwell-Prior, who's a professor and a journalist, gave about 2 years ago. Don't worry about the results. Put in the work, build your skills, find out what you're good at. Don't shy away from hard things. So we got the testimony of 2 witnesses. Amen. So I affirm what you have to say. Thanks for being with us today. Thank you, Todd.
My privilege.
Working with Dan Doriani is a production of the Center for Faith and Work St. Louis. We seek to promote faithfulness in the workplace, in education, in discipleship, and in the stories of believers who've applied their faith at work. If you want to put your faith to work and change your corner of the world, visit our website, the Center for Faith and Work St. Louis. Look for faithandworkstl.org. That's one word. We'll help you start a cohort with like-minded believers who also want to practice their faith at work. This podcast is donor-supported. To keep us going, please donate on our website. Maybe more importantly, you can support us by listening, by subscribing, by sharing, by liking us, by posting us on your favorite platform, or go old school and tell a friend.